welcome to the club that must not be named today. It has a different name every other week, but this week we have a special guest, and we are keeping the cursing to a minimum. So as you can imagine, that is going to be a real challenge for me, but I'm up for it. So what is the club that must not be named? Well, it's where doers come and they share how they toss intimidation, fear, and I got nervous because my guest is so amazing. And so now I'm like, this needs to be perfect. Vulnerability in the trash, and they just do the thing. So today we're going to talk about someone who decided to share their story about how they moved from one career to another, totally different industry, and became a beginner again as an adult. And so I would love to welcome your very favorite LinkedIn unicorn, Ariel Lee.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. You're adorable.
Oh my God, did you see
for
me?
completely rerouting the entire theme of your live show so that I could come hang out with you.
Hashtag worth it. But by the way, I do hashtags like in real life too, because I'm 43 and I can do that. I'm so glad to have you here. And like, what's funny is we talk so much in real life, but then when I get you on LinkedIn, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's a celebrity. I need to be like amazing. Val's here. Like, hi, Val. We're so glad to see you. She's such a superstar.
He is here too. You guys are on the ball. I love it.
Yeah. Woo. Hey, T. T's got coffee this morning. So before we start, just so you know, because I'm not sure how many people have taken advantage of it, but I did hide a Starbucks what is it called? A Starbucks gift card in the comments of the event. So find it, take it to Starbucks and have them scan it to buy you a drink this afternoon on us to roll in the weekend and finish out the week. This was not my idea. This is something that Ariel does, and I thought it was really cool. And this was a great opportunity. So. Oh, no way. Okay, well, there we go. This is the way that LinkedIn works. So anyway, so comment, let us know that you're here. And so Ariel, let's get started because you only have 7 minutes to tell your story. I know, like pressure is on.
Right? Like I can't say anything in 7 minutes, but it's okay.
So tell us, because what you do now, which we can't talk about, we can't say out loud, but if you want to know and you don't know, like either DM one of us, right? And we'll tell you offline. But so it's a super secret. We can't curse, we can't say what you do, but what you do today is very different than what you were doing for your whole career. So tell us about it.
So it really started, my first big girl career was in the car business. I started out selling cars, and then quickly moved up. I was a finance director. And then my last stop, or next to last stop, was as general sales manager, which is the person that's responsible for the entire sales department of a dealership. And I did that for 3 years. In June of 2019, my husband, who was also in the car business, he's older than I am, so he had been in for longer, just sort of was like, I'm burnout. I need a break. And so I told him, I'm like, no big deal. I got us. We're fine. You stop working.
I got this. I'll be your sugar mama. Totally fine.
Anyway, taking a step back, reevaluating, figuring out what else he wanted to do. And over the next few months, I see him just have this like huge weight lifted off his shoulders. I had been miserable for a very long time, and just completely, the car business is like a Monday through Saturday, 11 hours a day, like lots and lots and lots of pressure and stress and hours worked. And, but I did not finish college, and my position at that time was quite lucrative. And so it never even crossed my radar to think about doing something different, because I didn't think that I would be qualified to do anything that would compensate me similarly. But after seeing him for a couple of months, and I'm sorry if you guys can't hear me, let me know if I'm spotty, because I see April like freezing. So I don't know if that's me, but anyway, after seeing him take a few months off and just the weight lifted off his shoulders, and he had sort of become a whole different, better person, not having all those pressures on him. And I was like, hey, I really am not all that happy either. So that sort of planted the seed in the bottom of my brain. And then the straw, I guess, that broke the camel's back is that in September of 2019, I got called into a meeting and they said, I'd been there for 10 years at that point, 3 years as the general sales manager. And they sat me down and said, we are bringing in another general sales manager. You can go back into the finance office where I'd come from, or you can go to Down the Road Motors, right? You can quit. And I had just signed on a new house the week before and told my husband to quit his job 3 months prior to that. And so in my short-sighted brain, just leaving was not an option. So I swallowed my pride, which sucked, huge ego blow, right? Because I was doing a good job in the car business. Good enough is never good enough. And so, right. But I think in retrospect that it was probably they could see that I was getting burnout and not really doing the things that I should have been doing to push, the people that I was charged with leading to the next level. So blessing in disguise, all that good stuff. But I went back into the finance office and for about a month, just sort of sat there miserable and let myself be, disgruntled and frustrated. And the person that they hired to replace me as the general sales manager turned out to be a terrible fit. He lasted 2 weeks. He knew nothing that he said he knew. It was a really painful experience because they then had to fire him. But then it was you can't uncrumple the piece of paper, right? So I'm sitting and I'm bitter and I'm company girl, right? I've been there for 10 years. This job was my whole identity. So I was super duper passionate about serving family business, right? These people are my family. So it really hurt on a level more than what a typical demotion was. But I didn't want to continue to exist and just collect a paycheck as a bitter, disgruntled employee. I could have, being the finance director, paid very similarly to the general sales manager. It wasn't like it was a huge financial setback. It was just an ego blow and my feelings were. And so gave myself a month and I couldn't move past that. And I said, okay, so what do you do from here, right? A dealership's a dealership's a dealership. So I could have left and gone to any other place in my area, done the same job, made the same money. But I just felt, at the time I was 32, and I couldn't see myself working those kind of hours with that kind of stress with people that don't really appreciate the contributions for another 30 years till retirement. So I had to start trying to think about opportunities that might present themselves to me as somebody without a college degree. What can I do to utilize a similar skill set in terms of the passion for building relationships and solving problems and all of that kind of stuff and still make a decent living? And one of the options I considered was real estate. But because I had told my husband to quit his job 3 months prior, real estate, you go for quite a long time with no reliable income until you build your base. And so what I wound up doing was actually the second thing that crossed my mind. And it was purely I had a friend on Facebook. I'd actually purchased her house. So she wasn't a realtor. Obviously, she does what I do. But I purchased a house from her in 2016. And so we connected on Facebook at that time. And I would see her life on Facebook. I would see her eating lunch at her 2 daughters' schools. I would see her taking nice vacations 3 and 4 times a year. Where in the car business, I was lucky to get 5 days. And it just sort of clicked I bet I could do that. And so I went online, I filled out the application. Long story short, they were willing to consider my career progression and life experience in lieu of my degree. And so I started the process there. And I know I'm running out of time, but I got lucky that it was a lengthy process. So I was really able, the whole interview stages were lengthy. And so I was really able to take a lot of time and absorb and reflect on whether or not there were many opportunities along the way for me to say, do I want to continue sitting in this seat I'm in now, or do I want to change my seats? So
right.
That's when I threw it in my bucket and did the thing.
Right. Okay, so I have to ask, like, I love this because I have changed careers so many times, right? And so for me, that is second nature. I love it. For me, it's an adventure, but you're built a little bit differently than I am, right? So when you first had the thought, maybe I should leave the car industry, how did you feel? Like, did you immediately go like, oh no, that's crazy, I could never do that?
Yeah. Well, and it was just like, not that I'm a little bit stubborn and I'm a millennial raised by a single mom who fully like did the whole, baby, you could be anything you want to be. Like she implanted in my head that I am a special snowflake flower and I could be president if I wanted to do that one day. So I've got imposter syndrome with the best of them, but I've never doubted myself in the way that like, I genuinely feel like anything I put my mind to, I can do it if it's what I want to do.
Right.
What I was apprehensive about was sort of they talk about golden handcuffs, right? Like you've worked yourself to a position where my household was built on the income of 2 general sales managers at mid-sized dealerships. And then I let one of those incomes go. And I said, it'll be okay. We can sustain. And then I was faced with picking a career change. Okay, what now? And so it, major sacrifice and, but worth it. So the golden handcuffs 100% was what stressed me out because you go online and you look at job advertisements. I don't even qualify to be a bank teller for $10 to $12 an hour because those job postings say degree required.
Right.
So
right.
That was
That's
what
a
was
whole
in my
nother
head.
conversation.
Like, oh
right?
my gosh, what am I going to do now? And I mean, legitimately, had I known about LinkedIn, I love what I do and I love how impactful it is and all of that kind of stuff. But the power of LinkedIn and building those relationships and had I known about LinkedIn ahead of time, I might have wound up doing something different because I feel like there are a lot of people that have managed to accomplish really cool things without degrees just by their networking abilities. Right. And I think that I could have been one of those people. I'm glad that I wound up where I did when I did and it all worked out. But that was what went through my head.
Right. I love that. Was there anyone in your life who was important to you when you told them what you were doing and like this big, massive shift that you were making who said, you're crazy or you won't be able to do that or you'll go back to the car industry, like you'll be back?
Literally everyone that I know from the car business always, and even still when I call and we're catching up, are you ready to go back? Every time I stop by, because my new office is literally 50 feet from my old dealership. So I stop by there pretty often to say hey to people that still work there. And every time there's 3 or 4 people that, you ready to come back? And so there was a lot of doubt. And honestly, my husband, he, again, believes in me to the fullest, just like I believe in myself. But there was a lot of, are you sure that this is a step that you want to take? Are you sure that this makes sense right now? Are you sure, but I'm stubborn. So it's going to work.
It works. I don't know if you saw, Tanya said her coach calls it the better devil, which is right. Like, I guess it's better the devil you know than the one you don't, but actually opposite, right? Like just pick the one that's the best one. So by the way, I want to call out like T is here. I saw him, Tanya, Sheila, Jimmy, who I just met a few minutes ago through a connection with Ashley earlier, which is super exciting. Who else did I miss? Who's Lauren, who's going to be on the show in, I think next week, which is really exciting. Yeah. So, there you are. I love it. Okay. So we're at time. So real quick, before we go, 2 questions for you. The first is, if you were going to sit and watch a movie tonight with your family, what is the best treat that you would want to have in front of you? And the second is, where can people find you?
So I'm a Harry Potter nerd. That's the first thing that pops into my mind is just a my go-to movie night. So any Harry Potter. And then I spend probably 27 hours a day on LinkedIn. So find me there. My headline has the unicorns in it, but I think I should be the first Ariel Lee that pops up when you search. So would love to connect with anybody here that I'm not already connected with.
I love it. I love it. And if you want to come share something that you threw in your bucket with everyone on LinkedIn, hit me up in your DMs, in my DMs, not your DMs. Don't hit me up in your DMs. I'm not in your DMs. Hit me up in my DMs, and I will send you the link where you can apply. And oh, hi, Susanna. And we look forward to seeing you next week and all the weeks following, Wednesdays and Fridays at 1:15 Eastern Standard. Yes, slide into my DMs. Ariel, thank you so much. I'm so excited
that you for having me and for retooling your whole show so that I could come hang. And thanks everybody for spending your lunch break with us. We appreciate you. Great talking to you. And if you're watching the replay, send us a message and let us know what you took away from it.
Yep. Awesome. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend.
Bye.